When it comes to the bar exam, who or what do you trust? Maybe that's a question you've been asking yourself. If so, stick around, we've got some answers. I'm Jackson Mumey, the owner and founder of Celebration Bar Review, and for the past 25 years I've helped thousands of bar takers, people just like you, to make their next bar exam the last bar exam. If you want to know more about how we do that, check out the links on this page after this video. So we're in our series about bar exam peace, some words that don't seem to go together real easily. And right now, as I'm recording, we're in the season of bar exam results coming out from the prior bar exam. And this is always an interesting time, and I use that word advisedly. There were some moments of great joy, and certainly jubilation and celebration about passing this big high-stakes test. But for other people who don't pass, it is a very sad time. And I have to say that when I hear from students who are in that position because they failed, it's really one of the heartbreaking moments for me personally, and certainly the hardest part of the work that we do. And it makes me think about one of the areas of exam peace that I think is sometimes lacking for people, and that's the whole area of trust. I think you've got to really be at peace with what you're doing, and to have that peace with the results, you have to trust the way that you studied and prepared for the exam. You need to trust in what your plan for the bar exam is. You need to trust in yourself. And as I've talked about in lots of other places, I know that there are those out there who would say, oh, but that's all touchy-feely, squishy stuff. And really what you have to do when it comes to the bar exam is just to know the law cold. I wish it was just that easy. But my experience has been that most people that take the bar are smart enough. They got into law school, they were smart enough to do that. They graduated from law school, they were smart enough to do that. And frankly, they're smart enough and they know enough law to pass the bar exam. They're smart enough to do the study and the work, and yet they don't always pass. Obviously, a majority of people these days nationally don't pass the bar exam. And we've seen that result now for a few years, that the number of bar repeaters and failures continues to grow and grow. Well, why is it? I don't think it's because students as a group suddenly got stupider, even though there is a line of thought about that that's out there. I don't think it's that they got lazier, even though there's a line of thought out there that suggests that as well. I think it's a function of the bar examiners changing the test, setting much tighter, tougher standards. I think that the bar examiners are protecting a competitive workforce and that they're really trying to make it difficult for people to get into the exam. In other places, I've talked about this as the game of playing hit the piñata, except that the piñata got moved to a different room while you were blindfolded. And no matter how hard you swing, if you're just swinging at empty air, you're not going to be successful. Now, in light of all of that, I think it makes it hard for the people in our industry who are reputable to gain trust. And I recognize that when I come out and tell people that we can help them pass, as we've done for over 25 years now, that we're clearly setting ourselves up for some unhappiness if someone doesn't pass the bar. And I get that. I've done this for a very long time, and I recognize ultimately, however, that at the end of the day, it's not what I do, it's what the student does on exam days that ultimately matters. Still, I find that when bar exam students don't trust what I'm telling them in practice, when they don't trust what I'm telling them about their own abilities, when they don't trust the way that I'm advising them to study, they're going to have problems. When a student is working, we try to advise them study less, study more of this, study over here, study over there. But if the student doesn't believe that, when there's a lack of trust, then it's very difficult to help reach a successful outcome. Now, I heard from some students this week that had passed their bar exams, and that's great stuff, and we're going to share interviews with a lot of those folks with you, and it's very exciting, obviously, to see that journey. But I also heard from some people who failed. They're in the distinct minority in our course. But I do remember thinking about one of those students that failed in particular that I knew just didn't trust my advice. We were going through the course, and I kept telling them, back off, don't work so hard, don't be so frenetic, don't be so frantic about what you're doing. Trust the process of what you're doing. But I could tell that they really didn't trust that advice. I felt like in their own heart, they knew that they weren't worthy enough, they weren't good enough, and they had to prove that they were going to be good enough by working. Unfortunately, they worked themselves into a frenzy. They got to the exam. I think that student was fatigued, they were stressed out, and they literally talked themselves into being freaked out on seeing an exam result that would be unsuccessful. And because that's what they focused on, because that's where their trust level was, I think the result was preordained. So now, if you're thinking about what to do on an upcoming bar exam, I would say a good place to start the process is to think about who and what you're going to trust. Obviously, if you're in our bar review course, you've already made some of those decisions. But if you took somebody else's course and you're in that course today, then trust that course. Trust the choice that you made. Don't take a course and then not listen to the bar review provider in that course about what to do. It doesn't make much sense, regardless of the course that you're in. I think that when you choose a bar course today, you've chosen to take a particular approach. That's certainly true if you've chosen Celebration Bar Review. You need to trust that approach with our course because we've shown that it works empirically better than state averages for years and years and years. The big box bar reviews empirically don't work very well. Don't trust the garbage that you hear out there in the world that says because we're the biggest, that means we're the best. Don't trust that the law school is telling you something because they're an unbiased observer. They're not. They're being paid by the big box bar reviews. Don't trust those things on their own. Don't trust your classmates who are bar reps. They don't know anything about the bar exam at all. Don't trust your employers to tell you what the bar is or should be. I am not making this up, but there was a comment on one of my YouTube videos this week from a guy who said he took the bar 42 years ago, and really it was so simple. All you have to do is brief the cases, drink a fifth of Jim Beam the weekend before the exam, and go in and take it and pass, and what's all the fuss about? Oh my God, can you imagine working for that guy? You know, there's a lot of idiots out there, and there are a lot of idiots that claim to know something about the bar exam. I promise you, most of them don't know anything at all. They haven't taken the exam, or they haven't taken it in years, or they haven't stayed current on it, and they don't know what it means. Most of all, don't trust the trolls on the internet who go around posting troll-like comments about anything and everyone. You know, I think in this era of fake news, most of us are becoming at least a little more aware that people really say stupid things out there, and they do stupid things. But I am continually amazed about the people that post wild, crazy, stupid things about the bar and about bar review courses, and then other people take that seriously, and they trust it and they believe it. It's really amazing to me. I had a student who said, well, I know you've got all of those testimonials on your site and you've got all those interviews, but maybe they're all made up. And I'm thinking to myself, really, lady? You think that we would go out, hire people and do these interviews and stumble through them just to make them up? It's incredible what people believe might be out there. So the point is that you really got to be smarter than that. And you got to decide what you're going to trust. But why in the world you would trust someone you don't know at all on an internet troll basis versus a reputable course that's been around for 20 or 25 years is utterly beyond me. The point that I'm really trying to make is that I think it's useful when you're doing your research. If you haven't selected a bar review course, then go ahead. Look at samples of their materials. I've got hundreds of hours of YouTube materials out there. I've been around a long time. There are going to be some positive comments and there are going to be some haters. There's no doubt about that. But weigh all of that in balance and then make a decision. If you choose to take our course, great. And for those of you that did, we are very appreciative of that. If you choose to go with another course, then you've made that decision as well. I think what I really hate to see is that people move away from what they've already decided to do just because they get persuaded by someone else to do something differently. They take a different approach. Once you've selected your course and you're studying, trust the advice you've been given. Now, clearly, I don't agree with a lot of the advice that my colleagues give in this industry, and I explain in lots of places in these videos and elsewhere why I think that advice is wrong. But having said that, if you're in a big box bar review course and you paid them your money, then do what they tell you to do. If that doesn't work, well, I'm sorry, then come see me and we'll fix it. And we do that all the time. But don't try to do both things at once. Don't take the big box bar review course and then not trust what they're telling you. In the same way, if you're in our course, trust what we're telling you to do. Don't try to second guess it or overanalyze it. Just trust that it works. That's why we tell it to you. We obviously have no vested interest in anyone failing the exam. So I think it's important that you get to that level of trust that relieves you of the responsibility of having to filter everything you hear or everything that you read or everything that you see as you prepare for the exam. When we come and talk about the concept of trust, I think ultimately we have to end up back at square one. You have to trust yourself. Ultimately this test is about what you do as an individual. It doesn't matter at some level what course you take or how you study, as long as you have the minimum competencies, you should be able to pass the bar exam. But you have to trust that you have that ability. And so many people that I talk to have been so beaten down, so beat up either by their school or by work or the economy or the bar exam itself or the bar examiners, that they literally don't trust anyone or anything anymore. And most of all, they don't trust the process. They don't trust their own abilities. And so as a result, these individuals start at a deficit. The deficit is so large that it's nearly impossible to overcome without just kind of a clean reboot of their brain. That's one of the reasons that we use things like the Paraliminals package and meditation and photo reading, tools to help people wipe out some of that stuff, that bad stuff, and start over again. But at any level, you have to trust that you have the core competencies, the core abilities to be successful in this kind of an undertaking. If you don't think that you're going to be successful, if you don't have that trust in yourself, then I don't know how in the world you can pass the bar, much less if you did pass, how could you intend to represent clients after you pass the bar? I mean, can you imagine the conversation? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't really represent you. I'm really, truly incompetent as a lawyer. It was a fluke that I passed the bar. I don't think so. You have to have that confidence in yourself, and you have to trust yourself that you know how to do this work. Now, if you really don't trust that you have the core ability, then you need to discover why that trust is missing, or frankly, why you don't have the ability. I know that for some people, for example, foreign trained attorneys for whom English is not a first language, there is a significant problem. They don't believe they're going to pass because they don't have a sufficient command of the English language. And that's a real thing. That's not a trust thing. That's a real life concern. And so the first step for those people is to improve their English skills. You see, you've got to work on where the deficits are. But you have to discover what the problem is and then work to resolve that problem. When you have this underlying deficit of trust, however, everything that you do, everything you study, everything you read, everything you practice comes with an already weighted down negative expectation. And it's so hard to teach someone in that situation. It's hard to help them see how they can get better. It's hard to know how to assist them. And ultimately, it's hard to know what to say to them after the exam results come out. The thing that we want for all of our students, obviously, is to be successful. We want each of you to do well on these exams. But in order to do that, you need to trust that we know what we're doing. We know how to help you. We know how to get you there. I often use the example of Lewis and Clark taking the settlers over the mountains. They knew where to rest the horses. They knew where the attacks might be. They knew the danger spots. They had made the trip before. We've done the same thing. We've made this bar exam trip now for over 25 years, over 50 administrations of the exam. We think that we've reached a point where we can earn your trust. But if you don't have that level of trust, then something's wrong and it's out of whack, and you need to resolve it. And you should do that quickly, because I have found there is no long-term success in a relationship that's not built on trust. Now, that's a hard message for some people to hear today, but I hope you'll take it to heart and think about it and think about where your trust lies. And in a broader perspective, think about where you put your own trust when it comes to your abilities and your skills and what you need to work on, and then act accordingly. And I hope that'll give you some peace as you study for the upcoming exam. Appreciate you being with us, and we'll be back soon with another message talking about bar exam peace.